Hello everyone, today's chess puzzle. White. Bishop on e3, knight on g3, pawns on a2, b2, c2, f2 and g2, king on h2, rooks on a1 and e1, black. Rooks on d8 and f8, pawns on g7, h7, b6, a5 and f5, knight on c5, bishop on d5. Let's get this going.
Yeah, I see a lot of pieces on the board, but my eye immediately goes to that black pawn on f5. It's almost like a ticking time bomb waiting to happen.
Right, like almost any move black makes with that pawn is going to force white to react somehow.
Exactly, and not just react, but react in a way that black can then use to their advantage. The most straightforward move for black, I think, would be to just push that pawn to f4.
Okay, so pawn f5 to f4.
Yeah.
But then wouldn't white just capture that pawn with their bishop on e3?
They could, and that's probably what most players would do, yeah. Bishop e3 to c5, taking the pawn. But here's where things get interesting. Black doesn't recapture the bishop. Instead, they push that pawn further, from f4 to g3.
Ah, I see. So now that's a direct attack on the white king.
Yeah.
They'd have to move their king out of check.
Exactly. The king would have to move to g3. And now black can make a subtle but powerful move. Pawn b6 to c5.
Wait, that doesn't seem like a big deal. What's so important about that move?
Well, it gives black control of some really important squares in the center of the board. They've created a blockade there, which restricts white's movements quite a bit. It's not a checkmate, but black has gained a very strong positional advantage here. They've opened up lines for their own pieces and put white on the defensive.
So the answer is black. Pawn f5 to f4. White. Bishop e3 to c5. Black. Pawn f4 to g3. White. King h2 to g3. Black. Pawn b6 to c5. There you go. So black starts by sort of baiting the bishop with their pawn. White captures the pawn. Black doesn't recapture, but instead pushes the pawn further to attack the king. White has to move their king out of check, and then black, with their final pawn move, takes control of the center of the board, putting white in a really tough spot. Thank you for listening.
Thanks.